Adam! I think we're good. I think we're good. It says, hi out there. I'm Bart. And my pal Adam. He's not in the room right now. But if you're there, hold on a minute. I think he'll be back. I think. We're, we got like 6 viewers. Do we already? Because it's still not doing what I think it's supposed to be doing.
No, it's up and running, man.
It's up and running?
Yeah.
Are there people out there running?
Yeah. Brenda's watching, and Angie and Jane. Well, while we get this all figured out, hey, welcome everybody.
Hi. Technology, it's the thing that's going to bring peace and prosperity to the humankind.
Right, and then that's actually kind of what we're going to talk about tonight a little bit. Thank you to everybody who's now texting me saying we are live. We are on.
I can't see it. I'm in here and I can't see it online.
I can see it. Well, what we're going to talk about tonight, after all of our technical difficulties, we finally got through all of that, and thank you to Bart.
Yes, I see it. We're there. Hi, we're right here.
There we are.
There we are.
Yep. But that's not the title of the podcast tonight.
It is not the Shepherd's Story.
Let's say hi to a few people that are watching. Hi, Brenda McClure. Thank you for watching. Angie and Tim Brackett. Dave Dawson, who is Gene Hector is a top fan. Did you know that?
Gene Hector should be a top fan.
Yes.
Because she has awesome cakes.
She does.
She has awesome cakes.
That's right. So, welcome to everybody that's watching tonight. We are going to participate in a discussion that has to do with some of the overall hot topic of the day, which is how much should the church get involved in preaching and promoting politics in general to the masses. And I think what would be very, very good for us to do is define some terms, ask some questions, let people respond in a way that they would like to respond. But, in no way are we wanting to start a dumpster fire tonight. That's not what we want to do. But we do feel like this is a very valuable discussion. So
I think it will be.
You think so?
I think it will be. I think it can be.
It can be.
Could be.
Let's start from where all of this stemmed from, which is I do spend time on social media. It's a way that I can keep up with people, find out what's going on in their lives. It's a way that they communicate to everybody in a blanket type fashion, and I can keep up with them in that way. But there have been more and more, especially this year, political rants from church people, and I read them and I understand their feelings, their thoughts, their emotions. I understand all of that, but I also am tempted to talk to them about the other side of things, where it comes to their witness, and sometimes a political rant can hurt their witness.
Absolutely.
Yeah, really? That's it? That's all you got?
Yes. I mean, so there's a verse in the Bible that I think is applicable to this. I'm sure there's several verses, but it's one that I've never heard. I've never heard a pastor preach on it, and I've mentioned it to you, and I would love to hear you preach on it sometime.
All right.
It's in the Old Testament, and it says, don't Lamentations are one of those, and it says, don't be so bad that you're going to hell. Don't be so good that you're kind of be like in between. But so for a Christian witness, don't be so off-putting that no one's going to listen to you, because it's tiresome. Mm-hmm. I mean, you say the same things again and again and again, and you say it with the same vitriol, and you say it with the same spittle flying out of your mouth, and after a while it's just a bunch of bees buzzing, and people just ignore you.
It's kind of like when Moses came down from the mountain after meeting with God, and he was so bright that he had to wear a veil. And a lot of times we spend time with God, which is great, but we become so heavenly minded, we're no earthly good. There's those things. I'm talking specifically about the Facebook ranting about political issues and what that does to the witness of the Jesus follower. I've never met anybody that has come to Christ because of somebody's Facebook post about politics. And I've never met anybody that has grown closer to Christ because of somebody's Facebook rants or Twitter rants about politics. I've never met that person. I don't even know if they exist. Bart, have you ever met that person
that has
come to Christ or has grown closer to Christ because of somebody's political rants?
No, but I probably know people who go the opposite direction because of the way people are on Facebook.
So it actually it can't hurt the witness, and the what you just said is anecdotal, and we understand that. But let's get to what some people are saying here. Judy Ward says it's better to be quiet. She says, "Imagine what God hears, all that buzzing." And this is kind of what we need to get to the bottom of tonight through these questions and the definition of terms. We need to know what's appropriate to say and what's not appropriate to say, and is there a way to appropriately say it? And
I hope there is. Well, so we're before we were talking, and I said, Americans. Well, let's go with your definitions here. Let's talk about political definitions.
Yeah,
we'll get into it. So you have political definitions: activities among groups that lead to decision making and achievement of power. So there is nothing wrong with having political viewpoints. I have my political viewpoints. You have your political viewpoints. Mm-hmm. People out there have their political viewpoints. There's nothing wrong with having it. How you present those political viewpoints is the issue. And, and in America, which is, you look at the Bible, they didn't have all this. Well, yeah, they didn't have choices. They didn't have to make the choices there that we have to in America. And so it's very difficult. And so am I an American Christian? Am I a Christian in America? Or am I a Christian American? What is it?
Which is another interesting topic. We're going to have a ton of rapid trails here tonight because there's so much that we probably feel like we need to get to in this 20-minute time frame. He brings up a very interesting point, Bart does just now. Am I American or am I a Christian? I can be both, but am I more one than another at any one time? Is Christianity different in America than it is other places around the world? And if so, how? I mean, there's so much beneath this. Go ahead.
It is. I mean, in my Facebook page, my little icon, is it an American flag with the cross overlaid it? I mean, yes, I do believe that they should be separate, and obviously, but I have strong political views and I have strong moral views, and I know at times if I were in the political realm, I would have to compromise, and that's why I would never want to be in the political realm. It's because you have to compromise because you're reaching America.
Yeah, and why is that? Of course, there's the separation between church and state. But should the church get into the whole promotion of politics? Should we participate in a job that we have elected people to do? Now, the obvious answer is yes, because we are the bearers of the light and the bearers of morality. And, of course, we want to be promoting truth. But it can get kind of ugly, can it?
It will get ugly. It'll always get ugly because in America you have Christians who are Democrats, Christians who are independents, and Christians who are Republicans. So how do you come together as Christians, brothers and sisters, when you are in three different political camps? Can you?
I don't know. I don't know. I think this is the struggle. This is the struggle of it's always been a struggle. I mean, and on this paper here, we're going to get to some of the political systems that were in the Bible at the time. But before we get there, I mean, and we're asking these questions to you at home too. If you've got some thoughts, comments you'd like to put in the comments, go ahead and do that. We'd love to know what your stance is as we talk about this together. Has the church done a bad job of standing for truth? Have we put, two questions in back to back here. have we relied too much on politicians to be promoting the truth and not done a good job ourselves at promoting truth? And if so, why and how? Again, I mean, there's so much underneath this.
Well, absolutely, because then you have
We're
to
going to be into
define.
this one early, probably.
Yeah, you're going to have to define truth. I mean, and where does it? And where how does that truth apply in what arena and in what manner?
Yeah.
More. I mean, I don't know.
Here's where I have always fallen out on that. I remember hearing Billy Graham one time. There's a lot of principles that Billy Graham followed his entire life that a lot of pastors follow. There's one that I was always reluctant to do. He said, when you prepare a sermon, have a Bible in one hand and a newspaper in another. Now, I understand what he was saying. He was saying, pay attention to what's going on in the world and take the biblical truth and try to apply it and go to right where the people are and where they are living. Try to give some theological explanation around some things that are going on. But in this day and age, you can say, in sermon preparation, have a Bible in one hand and social media in the other, and it makes it a little bit more difficult. I have always took the firm stance that I will always preach morality, and I will preach biblical truth. And by the way, if you want to know a definition of truth, a churchy definition of truth is Jesus, because he is the way, the truth, and the life. I will stand up against the traditional view of marriage. I am all for the traditional view of marriage. One man, one woman. I am pro-life. I will always take the stand on those issues. But never will I bring politics into the pulpit, because I've always believed that the pulpit is reserved for Jesus and his truth that comes from the Bible. I'm not going to stand up and quote a politician. And I'm not going to stand up and say, next week we're going to have this politician come in and speak to it. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that because I don't want the whole political system to step into the life of the church.
Absolutely.
And the next thing you know, we're having a political rally and not a corporate worship service where we should be focused on Jesus and Jesus alone. So, oh boy, Dave Dawson's got a big one there.
So Dave says, I have political viewpoints, but I don't share them on Facebook. When I engage personally, I am respectful and I don't name call. If someone does, I walk away. I respect people's rights to have their opinions, even if I disagree, but am uncomfortable. Sorry about that, Dave. I'm comfortable with church and politics, especially since I have been reading a lot of 16th century English and French history where church and politics were the same thing.
Yeah.
Fights between Catholics and Protestants are mind-blowing in their savageness, and I don't think that's gone away. But Corey Hayes goes on and says, I am a Christian. It doesn't need an adjective.
Ooh, that's powerful.
So we talked about that beforehand. When as a person, you can have your political views, you can have your moral views, and you should engage people, like Dave says, with on the viewpoint level. Mm-hmm. But you don't attack people like he says, and I agree with him. And I called on my Facebook, I called out someone about it too. And again, I just my call out was stop, because when people see, if someone comes in and sees that person, that person goes to that church, and they're mocking or they're minimizing or they're berating a person, then that not only brings them down, it brings people and groups that are associated with them down.
Absolutely.
Now, when you say, hey, I stand for this point and this, and this, and this is why I stand, and these are the constitutional reasons why I stand for them, and why I disagree with you, that's fine. That's great. That's the way it should be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In America.
America.
In
Yeah.
America.
Yeah.
In America.
So there were a lot of political systems in the Bible. In fact, no book of the Bible is exempt from these political systems that were in place. There was either an emperor or a king, or there was somebody in charge at some point all throughout the Bible. In Titus 3, which Titus was one of those young pastors who was being mentored by Paul, Paul writes to Titus and says, don't get in any quarrels about the law. I think it's at Titus 3:9. Don't get any quarrels about the law, because they're not going to go anywhere. You're not going to win any points for eternity by fighting about politics. You're just not going to do that. There are some other examples of some political systems. For example, in Acts 5, Peter and John stood before the Sanhedrin, and they were telling them, you've got to stop. You've got to stop saying these things about Jesus. And they said, I'm sorry, we must obey God and not men. It was the political system that was trying to get them to stop talking. And they said, no, I'm sorry. We are going to continue to speak about Jesus. And then another one that is a little bit more prevalent comes from 1 Peter 2. 1 Peter is a book that is written to a group of people that was under heavy, strict oppression by a dictator emperor named Nero. And Peter was like, listen, don't cause any problems with Nero, because it's not going to be beneficial to you or to the kingdom. So he said, he actually says in 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 17, honor everyone, love brotherhood, fear God, honor the emperor, honor him.
Now, so how do you honor someone who is
great question,
who is known for putting Christians?
Hand me that pen down there. Did you see that pen?
Yeah.
The green one? All right, let's see if I can catch it. Awesome. Thank you so much.
So how do you honor a person who is
known
for dipping Christians in tar, lighting the way to Rome with their bodies?
That's a great question. How do we honor leaders that we don't agree with? This is a question for all of you out there. Put something in the comments about what you think about this. How do we do this?
Dwayne Stukin says everyone has their opinions and everyone needs to respect them.
Can't see this.
All like Jesus respected the Romans. And you look at Jesus was an excellent person at separating the two. Should we pay taxes to Caesar? And Jesus says, well, show me the coins. And, well, it's got Caesar's face on it. Well, then you give to Caesar what is Caesar, and to God what is God's. So, yes, you can be a Christian in a political regime and show respect to the leaders of that. Because if I'm not mistaken, without having the verses ahead of me, in front of me, it says that there's no political authority that God hasn't put in place.
Yeah, the government's on his shoulder, on his shoulders. Is that Isaiah 9? It says the government's on his shoulders, or Isaiah 6? Yeah. So here's how you honor someone who's in leadership that you may not necessarily agree with, or somebody that is trying to do harm to a system. And the first thing is you always speak well of them. If you have something ill to say against that particular leader, Judy Ward is right. Just go ahead and keep it to yourself. Because if you curse them in the darkness, if you curse them behind their back, then you will never have a chance to possibly see them for who they really are. Now, Nero's a different case in 1 Peter 2. That's a different case.
He was crazy.
He was crazy. He was an emperor dictator. I mean, he really did want to put an end to the followers of the way, or the Christians. But we won't necessarily encounter that in America in 2020. But we will encounter leaders that we don't like. So speak highly of them, even when you feel like you don't have anything nice to say. And if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything. Here's another way that you can honor a leader, is that if they give a command about what to do next and you are a part of the group, you go ahead and you either participate or you don't. You're in it or you're not. You have that freedom to step out of whatever it may be. The third way, and I already see, it's hard for me to see the screen because it's...
Sorry, I don't know.
No, it's fine, it's fine. Linda George put in there, you pray for him.
Right.
Above all else.
Before all else.
Before all else. You pray for your leaders. Pray for all leaders. And leave them in the hands of God. Pray for all leaders. Okay, my good friend Kevin Horath just put something on here, and I want to read his comment. He says, powers that be are ordained of God, so we must honor them, because it's honoring God. It doesn't mean that we have to agree, but we do have to honor. He's absolutely right. We have to honor them by speaking highly, following commands, and praying for them.
So
those are just 3 ways.
So I can still honor them
Yes.
and disagree with their opinions, their edicts. And especially in America, yay America, there are legal ways in which you can go about trying to change those edicts. We get to vote, yay. We get to bring law against them. Again, so we don't like what's going on in Illinois. I get that. I don't like wearing a mask. I get that. And then hey, we have a legal system which you can bring cases. You can bring law, try and bring law against it, and say, hey, unconstitutional. I don't like it. You may win. You may not win. I don't know, but you can still do it in a respectful way.
Right, but most people are not going to do that part.
We're just going to get on Facebook and go.
They're going to hit social media and be like, here it is. Here's my case right here.
That's why I said, I missed the days before social media when you had press conferences as a leader. You had to have someone write it out, and then you had to call the people together. And then so there was a long time between, hey, I don't like this, and hey, I'm going to make a statement against it. That maybe more level heads would win out in between. Now we just pop out the phone and tweet it and go, yeah, maybe I shouldn't have done that.
There's the former president of Fuller Theological Seminary is a guy named Richard Mao. He wrote a book back in 2010, 2011, around in there. It's called Uncommon Decency. And the premise of the book is very, very simple. And I can sum up the entire book in one sentence with a semicolon. One sentence. Those that are civil are not always passionate, and those that are passionate are not always civil.
I like that.
I do too.
I also like something you once said.
Oh.
So we don't gossip about those we pray for, and we don't pray for the ones that we gossip about.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
I think they go hand in hand.
Yep. Yeah, I do too. So should we use the pulpit on Sunday morning for political gain? What do you think out there? Should we, put it in the comments, because I get this all the time. Pastor, you don't talk enough about politics. I want to hear more about the elephants and the donkeys. I want to hear more about left and right, Republican, Democrat.
I don't.
What's happening in the Senate, what's happening in the House, this, that, or the other. And I will not do it. I won't. And if that, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to bring politics into a pulpit that is reserved strictly for eternal truth that comes from God's word. It's reserved for Jesus.
So how many times did Jesus talk about the things that were happening in the political realm? How many times is it recorded? He may have done it, I don't know. But how many times it was recorded where Jesus talked about things that were like that? I can't think of any.
If he did say anything, it was about going against the perceived power of the political system that tried to oppress people. Take the coin out of your pocket. Who's on that one side? It's Caesar. Give to Caesar what's Caesar's. Give to God what is God's. He went against the Pharisees, who were a religious political system in themselves. I mean, yeah, he was always talking out against those political systems.
But he was talking about how they oppressed the people.
Right.
And his anger was the fact that they were. I don't ever remember him attacking a particular Pharisee on a personal level.
On a personal level, really? Like a particular one Pharisee.
Right. He says, "Hey, and I'm gonna Photoshop you over Mussolini." I mean, I don't. Jesus spoke. If what I remember is Jesus spoke against the Pharisee group,
right?
But
yeah,
he never
as
a whole. But he never went out and attacked one specific Pharisee.
Right. No, in fact, when he did come across the Pharisee, he would show them love. Nicodemus was a Pharisee, right?
Yes.
Even though Jesus had ascended into heaven, the Apostle Paul, who was Saul of Tarsus, showed him grace and mercy. It's amazing. Hey, let's see what people are saying here.
People are saying no. No.
No.
when you asked about should you talk about
I
politics.
do not want to hear about politics at church. I want to hear about real life, how Jesus saved, how David became king, how Jonah ran for yes. That's what the pulpit is for, filled with congregations so they can go and pour out. Okay, well, I'm glad at least the 14 people that are watching here tonight are in agreement with
We'll
that.
find out later now.
Yeah, well, I'll get a ton of emails after this like, no, there needs to be more political rants from the pulpit. I'm sorry. I can't do it.
All right, so I want to throw this out there to if someone does watch this and they say yes, what good would come from it? How would the kingdom of God
I'd like to know what that is.
be edified if we say, if we were to talk about political things?
Right.
How would souls be won when we talk about human things? How?
Yeah. I'd like to know that too. I really would.
I mean, how is somebody going to be won if we talk about defense contracts and how much we spend on toilets for bombers at $2,000 a toilet? How are we going to reach the masses when we talk about the $800 screwdrivers, or how? But I have a niece, and but when we talk about how we are reaching the oppressed, how we are reaching, the downtrodden as a church, those are the things that I can understand you want to talk about.
Yeah. Troy Polium just put that man would be edified, not God. If we did speak about politics primarily from the pulpit, man would be edified, not God. And I agree with him, but I don't think the edification would lead to any kind of satisfaction. You may appease that person for 1 week, and then if you don't do it for a long amount of time,
because you didn't talk about it again.
Yeah, you got
or
to
again.
keep talking about it.
Or
I'm
again.
sorry, you just can't go into that whole thing. Do you think that there is more of a love for politics than there is biblical truth? Maybe because they understand politics more.
No, I don't think they understand politics more. I don't think so.
Man, we are just spitballing tonight.
I don't think. I think that it's easier. It's a difference between eating cotton candy and eating steak. Politics is cotton candy. Politics sways with the wind.
Right.
Not only it's your local your local political realm, and then your state political realm, then your Midwest, and then your national, and then the world. So politics sway with everything.
Yeah.
Political truth is harder because it's something that you've got to really dig into, hold on to, and invest in.
Yeah. Yep.
Again, I think I go back to being America has a unique, I think, opportunity or burden, I guess, for people in the church, for Christians, because you have to weigh what I am as an American with what I am as a Christian.
Yeah.
And this is coming from me. They're not always going to agree. The idea of a country of 321 million people all agreeing on one moral point is not realistic.
Yeah.
So as a politician, they have to make compromises to all of those groups, and somebody's always going to be unhappy.
Right.
And that's why I'm never going to be a politician.
And praise God for that. Yeah. But see, the biblical truth, when we preach that is a standard that does not change.
No.
Biblical truth is in concrete. It is a firm foundation that we stand upon. And when we meet on Sunday morning, we are not here to talk about changing ideas from one side to the other to fit some sort of political agenda. We are here to talk about the biblical standard of God's word that will never change. And that's what we build our life upon. Politics is sand. The Bible is firm foundation, as it says in the Bible. The man tried to build his house on sand, and it was washed away, or whatever it says.
So going into one biblical story about a biblical truth and how it got applied, let's talk about the woman caught in adultery.
All right.
Did Jesus change the biblical truth that adultery was a sin?
Did he change it? No.
No, he didn't change it. What did Jesus do that was different than the presiding idea at the time? He
showed her love.
I mean, he didn't tell her that, hey, the sin is okay, but he pointed out to everyone else, says, we're all fallen.
Right.
So anyone who's not, you get to stone her.
Yeah.
And when everybody left, Jesus was like, well, then I don't condemn you.
Yeah.
But he didn't tell her that the sin was okay.
Right.
So let's apply that to to political realms. As I have a moral belief, and when I encounter somebody who has a belief that's contrary to mine, I don't have to whip out my 450-pound King James Bible and beat them over the head until they believe the way I do. I can have conversations with them on a respectful level and say, at the end of the day, I don't agree with you. You don't agree with me, but let's go have coffee anyway.
Yeah. We can still be friends.
We may not be friends.
Right?
We may not even be friends, but we can still be respectful of each other. I'm stuck on the word respect.
Yeah. I get no respect.
Yeah.
Dave Dawson says church people can't agree on what hymns are best to sing. Think about the division politics would cause. Anything that moves from away from preaching Jesus would be folly. Dave also said, Dave is also a top fan, by the way, even though it doesn't say it. He says a political message from the pulpit would make it more likely I not return next week. All right. Noted, my friend. Noted. Scott Chapman. My goodness. All right. All right. Well, hey, this has been a really good discussion. Thank you, everybody, for chiming in. We are going to take a break next week because it is Christmas Eve. We're going to invite everybody to either join us here on Facebook Live or in-person worship next Wednesday night, 5 p.m., Christmas Eve, and then the following night, Christmas Eve. Both nights are 5 p.m. Both services are different. There'll be a different message at each one. There'll be different songs sung. And so you're welcome to attend both. We want to do as much church as we possibly can this Christmas so that we can all enjoy corporate worship, whether we're here or at home. And we also want to tell you about Sunday night, 6 o'clock, Polar Express, right here in the church parking lot. We are going to beam it onto 2 different screens. Get in your pajamas, load your family up in the car, drive here, we'll park you. We provide the hot chocolate. We got a lot of stuff to give you that night as well. So we're really looking forward to that. Bart, you going to be here for that?
I will try my best to be if I can
You
remember. Oh, I probably will because I'll probably help you set it up.
Of course, he'll be here. Wow. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. This is the D1 Midweek Podcast. I'm Pastor Adam. Thanks for joining us. On behalf of the greatest tech man that ever lived, Bart Harris, we say...
the average man. Yeah, but thank you.
We say good night.
Good night.